The day I went to the jewelry store to pick up the wedding rings was the day everything started to unravel. When the jeweler presented the custom order, I saw there were 2 rings for men inside the box. One was meant for me, inscribed as planned. The other, identical in design, was also a man's ring, clearly intended for Leo, the college student my fiancée Sarah had been sponsoring. I had meticulously designed these rings myself, engraving the inside of mine with the date Sarah and I first met, along with our names. Seeing the second ring, engraved with Leo's name, Sarah's name, and the date they apparently met, felt like a sharp, unexpected sting. I had believed these rings were a unique symbol of our commitment, filled with personal meaning. Realizing they weren't exclusively ours made me feel incredibly foolish. Holding both men's rings, my initial impulse was to go straight to Sarah and demand an explanation, but as I neared the store's exit, preparing to call her, I overheard her voice. She was on the phone, speaking urgently just outside. "Can you help me buy Leo a house using your name?" she pleaded into the phone. "That way Mark won't find out about it." There was a pause while the person on the other end spoke. Then Sarah's voice dropped, becoming thick with emotion. "I love him," she stated plainly. "I can't just abandon Leo now." Hearing those words confirmed my worst fears. Finding the duplicate ring wasn't just a strange coincidence. It was evidence of something far deeper. It felt like a physical blow. I stood there for a moment, the identical rings heavy in my hand. I had thought our connection was special, built on years of history and shared understanding. Now it seemed I was just an obstacle in her real relationship. I let out a quiet, bitter laugh to myself. Carefully, I placed the ring meant for Leo back into the jewelry box. As I turned to leave the store for good, I dropped my own ring, the one meant to symbolize my future with Sarah, into a nearby trash can without a second thought. Walking away from the jeweler's, I tried to gather my thoughts. The cool air outside helped slightly, clearing my head just enough to process the shock. My first instinct was still to call Sarah, to confront her directly about the rings and the conversation I'd overheard. Just as I reached for my phone, however, a message notification popped up. It was from Sarah, sent just 3 minutes earlier. She said she was already waiting for me at a restaurant nearby, suggesting we have lunch. Looking at the message, a mix of anger and sadness washed over me. Despite everything, I found myself walking towards the restaurant she mentioned. The short walk felt long, my mind racing with different scenarios. How should I approach this? What could I possibly say? When I arrived, the server led me towards the back. I saw Sarah sitting at a table by the window, her back to me, engrossed in another phone call. As I got closer, her words drifted towards me, chillingly familiar. "Help me buy Leo a house in your name so Mark won't find out." It was like hearing it again for the first time, the reality hitting me with full force. Their relationship wasn't just sponsorship, it was something else entirely. And where did that leave me? Looking at her profile, the familiar curve of her shoulders, she suddenly felt like a complete stranger. I couldn't hear the response from the other end, but then Sarah spoke again, her voice low but clear. "I love him. I can't give up on Leo." Her words were like ice water, extinguishing any lingering hope or warmth I felt. In that instant, I decided. I wouldn't fight it. If she wanted Leo, she could have him. Composing myself, I managed a neutral expression and knocked lightly on the open partition near her table. She ended the call quickly, turning around with a start, clearly surprised to see me standing there. "Mark, when did you arrive?" she asked, a hint of unease in her eyes. I forced a small smile. "Just got here," I replied calmly. "Who were you talking to?" She seemed to study my face for a moment, likely checking for any sign of suspicion or anger. Seemingly relieved that I appeared calm, She relaxed slightly and pulled out the chair beside hers for me. "Oh, just a call from the office," she lied smoothly, "reminding me about a meeting this afternoon. I'll need to head back a bit early." I simply nodded, accepting her flimsy explanation without comment. "All right, let's eat then, and you can go back afterward." She proceeded to order food for both of us. Once the waiter left, she looked at me expectantly. "So, how were the rings? Did they turn out okay? Did they meet your expectations?" I offered another faint smile, keeping my tone light. "They're nice," I nodded. "It was a bit of a surprise, though. Seems the custom ring has an identical twin." I left it at that, watching her reaction. Her eyes flickered almost imperceptibly, a clear sign of discomfort. "Oh, really? Maybe the jeweler made a mistake," she suggested quickly. "I can go check on it this afternoon when I leave." "No need," I said, letting the subject drop. My heart already felt cold and heavy. She continued to watch me, probably wondering why I was being so quiet. Normally, when we were together, I was the one filling the silence, sharing funny anecdotes from my day, eager to talk her ear off. She used to listen patiently, offering comments here and there. But things had changed gradually after Leo finished high school and moved to the city. She grew more impatient with my chatter, sometimes cutting me off or changing the subject, telling me that men shouldn't be so talkative, that I should learn to be quieter. In the past, I'd shown my frustration when she said things like that, but she never made an effort to comfort me or smooth things over, always leaving me to manage my feelings alone. Looking back now, I felt incredibly naive. The shift in her attitude had been so obvious, yet I'd completely missed its significance. Sarah and I had known each other practically our whole lives. We met in kindergarten, and our parents were close family friends, almost like relatives themselves. They had informally decided on our marriage when we were just children, an understanding that hung in the background of our lives. Because of this expectation, both of us had unconsciously avoided forming deep romantic connections with other people as we grew up. Leo was the unexpected element, the variable we hadn't accounted for. Ironically, helping him financially in the first place had been my idea. The first time we met Leo, he was a teenager, noticeably thin and seeming weaker than other boys his age. But he had a sweet demeanor, politely calling everyone Big Brother or Big Sister. Seeing his difficult circumstances, I felt compelled to help him find a better path. At the time, however, I didn't have significant personal funds. I asked Sarah, who was already working in her family's company, if she could help support him financially. Initially, she refused flat out. "I don't have time for playing house like this," she'd said dismissively. Then, fate intervened in a harsh way. I was involved in a serious car accident. During my recovery, Sarah seemed desperate, praying fervently for me, even climbing 3,000 temple steps despite not being religious at all. Someone had told her that performing good deeds might help my chances. It was then that she decided to start sponsoring Leo, who came from a background of poverty. A few days after she began supporting him, I started to recover. She later joked that Leo must be my lucky charm, and that I should treat him well. So I did. I treated him like a younger brother, offering him help and guidance whenever I could. I had unknowingly welcomed a threat into my life, paving the way for betrayal. Lost in these thoughts, my appetite vanished. I took only a few bites of the food before setting my fork down. Sarah noticed immediately. "Not hungry? Is the food not to your taste?" she asked. I glanced across the table. Most of the dishes she had ordered were heavily spiced, something she knew I couldn't handle well. A flicker of realization crossed her face, followed by an apologetic look. "Oh, Mark, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot you don't eat spicy food." I opened my mouth, the words "we should break up" on the tip of my tongue. But just at that moment, a familiar voice interrupted. "Sarah!" Leo pushed open the door to our private room, a bright smile on his face, looking sharp in a new suit. He paused slightly upon seeing me, but his smile quickly returned, though it seemed less genuine when directed at me. "Mark, you're here too." It looked forced. I acknowledged him with a brief glance, but didn't say anything. Sarah frowned, adopting a playful, scolding tone. "Leo, honestly, when will you learn to knock before entering?" Though her words sounded like a reprimand, her tone held an undercurrent of affection and helplessness. Leo grinned cheekily. "Sorry, I forgot. I'll remember next time," he promised. Then, turning his attention back to me, but with his eyes fixed on Sarah, he asked, "Mark, mind if I join you guys for dinner? I just finished class and I'm starving." Before I could even respond, Sarah jumped in. "Of course you can join us. If you're hungry, sit down and eat. See if there's anything else you want. We can order more." Leo slid naturally into the seat to Sarah's right. "No need to order more," he said cheerfully. "You've already ordered so many dishes that I love." Sarah's expression froze for a split second, and she instinctively glanced my way. I kept my face impassive. "If you like it, then eat up," I said evenly. As I spoke, I saw Sarah's tense posture relax slightly, though a hint of curiosity remained in her eyes. "Mark, if there's anything you want, please go ahead and order," Sarah offered, pushing the menu towards me. I smiled faintly and declined. "No thanks. I saw something rather disgusting this morning, and now I just feel sick to my stomach. No appetite." Leo raised an eyebrow. "Really? What was it?" I tried to sound casual. "Oh, just a friend of mine. Found out his girlfriend has been cheating on him. Apparently she was eating meals he cooked for her, then running off to be with her lover. Her stomach's completely messed up now. She's actually in the hospital needing surgery. He sent me a picture. It was pretty gross." I paused, then looked directly at Sarah, smiling sweetly. "People like that don't deserve any sympathy, do they, Sarah?" Her face turned visibly pale. She hesitated for a moment before echoing faintly, "Yeah. No." Leo didn't look pleased either. His smile had become strained. "Mark, maybe that girl just didn't have feelings for her boyfriend anymore," he suggested, trying to defend the hypothetical cheater. "It's not entirely fair to judge her like that, right?" "No feelings?" I countered sharply. "Then why not just break up first before finding someone new? Leo, you're still young. You might not understand how some women operate these days. If she genuinely liked this other guy, this lover, she wouldn't keep stringing her boyfriend along while hiding the affair." I was being deliberately blunt, and Leo's face had completely fallen. There was a definite hint of guilt in his eyes now. I smirked inwardly. Sarah looked irritated and quickly cut me off. "Okay, that's their personal business. Why are you getting so worked up about someone else's problems?" "You're right," I replied, shifting my gaze back to her with an innocent smile. "And besides, I trust Sarah. I know you would never be that kind of person." Her face flushed, leaving her speechless. For the rest of the meal, Leo actively avoided making eye contact with me. Afterward, Sarah offered to drive me home, but I declined her offer. "Okay then," she said. "I'll take Leo back to his school first. You be careful on your way home." No, Sarah, you should take Mark home," Leo interjected quickly, adopting a shy demeanor completely different from his earlier confidence. "I can just grab a cab back to campus." He was probably worried I'd discover the full extent of their relationship, especially since I had recently mentioned reassessing his financial support. If I had known then what I knew now, I would have cut him off immediately. "Mark can get home perfectly fine on his own," Sarah stated coldly, an air of authority in her voice. "You don't need to worry about him, but your school is quite remote. Taking a cab late isn't safe. I'll drop you off." Leo looked at me with an apologetic expression before getting into the front passenger seat of Sarah's car. As they prepared to leave, he rolled down the window and waved. "Mark, take care on your way back." I watched them drive away, a wave of sadness washing over me despite the small victory of unsettling them earlier. Sarah and I had shared 20 years of history. I never imagined she was capable of this kind of deceit. Or perhaps she had hidden it so effectively that I simply never noticed. I laughed bitterly to myself again and headed home alone. Later that evening, Sarah returned home, the strong smell of alcohol clinging to her. I was relaxing on the couch, watching TV, and only spared her a glance before changing the channel as she entered. She stumbled towards me, carelessly tossing her coat aside, and dropped a fancy gift box onto the sofa next to me. "Here, this is a new watch," she slurred slightly. "I had someone pick it up for you. See if you like it." Clearly intoxicated, she leaned in, attempting to hug me. I smoothly sidestepped her embrace, moving away to sit in the armchair across the room. She paused, looking confused for a moment. "You smell strongly of alcohol," I stated calmly. "Go take a shower first." Sarah sniffed at her clothes, seemed to register my point, and then silently got up, grabbing her pajamas before heading towards the bathroom. Left alone, boredom led me to open the gift box she'd brought. Inside was a watch with a light green face and band a very fresh, youthful style. It was obviously more suited to bright, energetic young men like Leo, not someone like me. I pressed my lips together grimly and placed the watch back in its box. Picking up my phone, I started scrolling through social media videos to pass the time. Suddenly, I stumbled upon an account that looked oddly familiar. Pausing, I clicked on it. The account featured vlog-style videos showcasing daily life snippets. The person never showed their face, but the backgrounds, the room, the furniture, were instantly recognizable. When Leo first started college, I had helped him settle in, so I knew the layout of his dormitory well. The setting in many of the videos matched his dorm room perfectly. As I scrolled further back through the posts, I noticed something more disturbing. Some videos weren't filmed in the dorm at all. They were filmed right here, in the apartment Sarah and I shared. She had actually brought him here, to our home, when I wasn't around. Suddenly, her phone call from earlier today flashed through my mind, her asking someone to help buy Leo a house. My fingers trembled slightly as I continued scrolling through his posts. Looking closely, I discovered something else. The watches, accessories, skincare products, even clothes featured in his videos. I owned identical items, and they were all gifts I had received from Sarah. Shocked, I scrambled off the couch and rushed barefoot into our walk-in closet. I started frantically comparing the items shown in Leo's videos with my own belongings, cross-referencing them with the dates the videos were posted. The horrifying realization dawned on me. Sarah had been giving me gifts, and then systematically acquiring exact duplicates of those same items to give to Leo. It was just like the rings. It seemed that whatever I possessed, Leo had to have an identical version. A wave of nausea washed over me. My genuine affection, our shared history. It all felt like a cruel joke now. I couldn't comprehend why she would do this. If she didn't love me anymore, why not just end things? Why subject me to this twisted, sickening charade? I clenched my fists tightly, trying to suppress the surge of anger rising within me. Taking out my phone again, I started taking pictures of everything, the matching items in my closet, side-by-side comparisons where possible. I also made sure to save all the videos Leo had posted that showed items matching mine or were filmed in our apartment. Sarah and I weren't just a couple. Our relationship was deeply intertwined with the interests of our respective family businesses and the long-standing ties between our families. Breaking up was never going to be simple. But Leo's online activities, his unwitting documentation of Sarah's deceit, had just made things considerably easier for me. After gathering the evidence, I took a few deep breaths to calm myself and walked back out into the living area. Sarah was hurriedly changing her clothes. Seeing me, she spoke quickly, her tone flustered. "Mark, there was a report of a flasher near Leo's school, and the police haven't caught him yet. It's not safe for Leo to be there alone tonight. I'm going to pick him up and bring him here to stay over." She wasn't asking for my opinion. She was informing me of her decision. I looked at her, my expression cold and hard. "Sarah," I said, my voice steady, "if you walk out that door tonight to get him, we are finished." Her movements stopped abruptly. She turned to face me, her dark eyes flashing with anger. "Mark, what are you trying to say?" "Haven't I made myself clear enough?" I retorted. Sarah laughed, but it was a harsh, angry sound. She gave me a cold stare. "Stop being so unreasonable, Mark. I have something important I need to take care of right now." Without waiting for any further response, she turned, walked out, and slammed the door behind her. What she didn't realize was that my ultimatum wasn't truly meant to make her stay. It was a final test, a gamble on whether she valued our relationship over her affair. Clearly, I had lost that gamble to Leo. The moment the door shut behind her, I began packing my belongings. I systematically gathered everything Sarah had ever given me, the clothes, the watches, the accessories, considering them compensation for the years of my life she had wasted. I already had my own car parked in the building's garage. Once everything was packed, I loaded it into the car and drove straight to my parents' house. Thankfully, they were traveling abroad, so the house was empty. It was just me. After getting settled and tidying up briefly, I gathered all the digital evidence I had collected, the photos of the duplicate gifts, the saved videos from Leo's account, screenshots of the ring confirmation, everything proving Sarah's infidelity. Then, I opened the family group chat. My family and Sarah's parents were very close, and we had a shared group chat with quite a few extended family members in it. Knowing there were always a few night owls active in the group, I dropped all the evidence into the chat. As expected, my messages immediately sparked a flurry of reactions and questions. Ignoring the incoming notifications, I typed one final message. "Sarah and I are done. The wedding is officially canceled." Seconds later, my phone pinged with a private message from Sarah. "Mark, retract that message right now. What do you think you're doing? Where are you? I'll come find you and we can talk about this properly." I didn't bother replying. Instead, I blocked her number and deleted her contact information. Almost immediately, another message came through, this time from Leo. "Mark, I know I've wronged you," it read, "but Sarah and I genuinely love each other. If you have any issues, please take them out on me. Don't hurt Sarah." Again, I didn't respond directly. I simply took a screenshot of his message and shared it in the family group chat as well. I've never been the type to quietly endure grievances. Since they clearly didn't want things to end discreetly or amicably, I felt no obligation to protect their reputations. After sending the screenshot, my phone started ringing. My parents calling internationally. They demanded to know what was going on. I didn't hold anything back. I told them everything I had discovered, from the duplicate rings to the overheard phone calls and the identical gifts documented in Leo's vlogs. My mother was absolutely furious on my behalf and immediately started looking up flights to come back home and support me. I told her it wasn't necessary and tried to persuade her not to cut her trip short, but she was insistent. Shortly after, I received a message from Sarah's mother. "Mark, please come over for dinner tomorrow evening. I will make sure Sarah explains herself properly." Initially, I had no intention of going, but then she added that Sarah's grandfather knew about the situation and specifically wanted to see me. Hearing that, I felt I couldn't refuse. The next morning, my assistant called me with a routine question. "Mark, it's time to process Leo's monthly allowance again. How much should we send him this month? Don't send him anything, I replied firmly. Not this month, not ever again. He has someone else looking after his finances now. Over the years I had supported him, Leo had gradually lost his initial humility. After starting college, he hadn't bothered applying for any student aid or even considered getting a part-time job. Instead, he developed a taste for luxury brands, decked out from head to toe. I had been contemplating cutting off his funding for a while, mainly hesitating because of his family situation. His supposedly paralyzed parents and mentally challenged brother back home. But now, it seemed crystal clear he no longer needed my help. There was no reason for me to continue enabling him or demeaning myself. After giving those instructions, I headed to the office. Since graduating from college, my father had been gradually handing over control of the family company to me. He was practically retired now, spending most of his time traveling with my mom. Consequently, the majority of my time was dedicated to work. I arrived at the office and barely had time to settle at my desk before Sarah barged in unannounced. Anger radiated from her, and her voice was icy. "Mark, do you have any idea that your messages last night nearly caused Grandpa to have a heart attack?" Her appearance didn't surprise me. I kept my expression carefully neutral and interrupted her before she could continue. "And how is that my concern? It was your behavior, Sarah, not mine, that caused this situation. You're the one who should feel ashamed, not storming in here acting outraged. If you have nothing productive to say, please leave. I have work to do." Sarah was momentarily speechless. She rubbed her temples, as if fighting a headache, and deliberately softened her tone. "Mark, listen. This is all just a big misunderstanding. I only see Leo as a younger brother. There's absolutely nothing romantic between us. When you visit my family later today, please just explain that to them. Let's forget about what happened yesterday, okay? We can still go ahead with the wedding as planned." Her words made me feel physically ill. How could she stand there and say such things after everything I knew? Disgust must have been evident in my eyes. "Sarah," I said flatly, "did you somehow convince yourself that you were irreplaceable to me?" She was the one caught cheating, yet she spoke as if she held all the power. Sarah pinched the bridge of her nose, looking exhausted. Her voice became soft, almost pleading. "Mark, I know you're upset right now, but please don't act impulsively. You know how interconnected our family's businesses are, and our parents are such good friends. If our personal issues negatively impact our families and the company's, it's just not worth it." "Why didn't you consider that when you were sneaking around with Leo?" I shot back. "You're the one who created this mess, Sarah, not me." Suddenly, Sarah's composure broke, and she became emotional, almost defiant. "Fine. Yes, I made a mistake. But doesn't almost every woman have a little fun on the side sometimes? Leo poses no real threat to you or our future. Can you honestly guarantee that anyone will remain completely loyal to you for their entire life? Mark, we're adults, not naive teenagers anymore. Stop looking at things in such black and white terms." After hearing her rationalizations, I almost laughed out loud, a cold edge creeping into my eyes. "You're just saying all this to try and lessen your own guilt," I stated calmly. "Ultimately, you're just a typically selfish person. I wasted far too much time on you, but I'm done now. Go marry whoever you want. It's absolutely none of my business anymore. Now, if you don't want this to become an even bigger spectacle, I suggest you leave my office on your own. Otherwise, I won't hesitate to call security. I don't tolerate infidelity, especially when the person responsible tries to justify it." Seeing that she couldn't manipulate or reason with me, Sarah turned abruptly and stormed out, radiating anger. That afternoon, I went to Sarah's family home as planned. As soon as I stepped inside, the tense atmosphere was palpable. I saw Sarah kneeling on the floor in the middle of the living room. Her grandfather sat stiffly on the main sofa, his face stern, emanating a natural air of authority. I walked over slowly and greeted him respectfully. "Grandpa." Seeing me, his serious expression softened slightly. "Mark, I've been made aware of the situation," he said gravely. "I called you here today because you deserve an explanation. Sarah has made a serious mistake, and she must be punished for it. What do you believe would be a fair consequence?" He was clearly trying to manage the situation, hoping to smooth things over without major repercussions. In the past, I might have gone along with it for the sake of family harmony, but not anymore. I shook my head firmly. "Grandpa, Sarah and I have broken up. This is now entirely your family's internal matter. It's not my place to decide on her punishment." The atmosphere in the room instantly grew heavier. Sarah's mother paced anxiously nearby, looking like she wanted to speak to me several times, but her father-in-law's sharp gaze kept her silent. "Mark," Grandpa continued, his voice serious, "have you truly thought this through? Marriage isn't a game. Once a decision like this is made, there's often no going back." As he finished speaking, Sarah suddenly looked up at me, her eyes filled with desperation and worry. Before I could respond, she spoke, her voice scratchy from emotion or perhaps from kneeling for so long. "Mark, I promise I'll cut off all contact with Leo completely. Can you please forgive me just this one time?" "Yes, Mark," Sarah's mother quickly chimed in, rushing towards me. "Sarah knows she was wrong. Please give her another chance. If she ever does something foolish like this again, I swear I won't let it slide myself." She tried to take my hand, repeating her promises earnestly. On my way over, my own mother had called again, urging me to be gentle and not let this personal issue damage the long-standing family ties. Taking a deep breath, I maintained a polite but distant demeanor. I answered their pleas dismissively, making it clear my decision was final. They asked me to stay for dinner, but I made a plausible excuse about work and left as soon as I politely could. Back in my car, I unblocked Sarah's number temporarily. I sent her one brief message. "I won't be visiting your home again. Please inform your family that we have broken up permanently. Do not try to contact me again. I'm extremely busy with work and have no desire to waste any more time on this matter." Then, I blocked her number again, permanently this time, and also removed myself from the family group chat. I had assumed Sarah would eventually accept the reality of the situation and stop pursuing me, but I was wrong. The very next morning I overslept slightly and was running late for work. As I hurried out of my apartment building, I ran right into her. Sarah was standing near the entrance, holding a paper bag that likely contained breakfast. She was dressed in a casual tracksuit, a set I recognized immediately as one of our matching couple outfits. It was one she had previously deemed too childish and refused to wear in public. "What are you doing here?" I asked curtly. "I brought you breakfast," she said, holding out the bag. Her tone was gentle, almost as if nothing had happened between us. "You should eat something, Mark. Don't skip meals and hurt your stomach." I looked at her coldly, deliberately avoiding eye contact. "Sarah, didn't I make myself perfectly clear yesterday? Or do you simply enjoy pretending to be oblivious?" "Mark," she pleaded, her voice strained, "it shouldn't have escalated this far. I told you I will cut ties with Leo. It will just be the two of us from now on, like it was supposed to be." "No, thank you," I refused instantly. Seeing the blank, uncomprehending look on her face, I added bluntly, "Frankly, Sarah, I find the thought of being with you now dirty." With that, I walked past her without another glance and headed towards my car. Seeing her start to follow me, I quickly got in, started the engine, and drove out of the parking garage, leaving her standing there. It seemed destined to be an unlucky day. As soon as I arrived at my office building, I found Leo waiting for me by the elevators. I tried to brush past him, pointedly ignoring his attempt to speak to me. "Mark, please, just hear me out," he pleaded, stepping into my path. "I know what I did with Sarah was wrong, completely wrong. And I swear I never, ever meant to hurt you. I truly think of you like an older brother, Mark. And I feel genuinely terrible about how this all turned out." I stopped and turned to face him, a mocking smile playing on my lips. "So, what you're saying is, you acknowledge you're morally bankrupt enough to pursue your supposed older brother's fiancée?" Leo's face turned pale. He nervously clenched the fabric of his clothes, seeming unsure how to respond. As I glanced him over, my eyes suddenly fixed on his attire. And then I understood why Sarah had been wearing that childish tracksuit earlier. Leo was wearing the exact matching set. My set. It was also part of the couple's outfit collection. The situation was so utterly ridiculous, so pathetic, that I couldn't even bring myself to laugh anymore. I had already broken up with Sarah, yet here they were, still coordinating their outfits, continuing their shameless charade right in front of me. "Leo," I asked, my voice dripping with sarcasm, "do you actually believe you're some kind of innocent victim in all of this?" No, Mark, that's not it," he stammered. "If you're angry, please take it out on me. Punish me however you want. I hope you and Sarah can somehow remain friends after this." I let out a short, cold laugh. "You have quite the nerve thinking I'd even bother dealing with someone like you," I scoffed. "Cheating, Leo, is like domestic violence. It rarely happens just once. It's either 0 times or it becomes a pattern. This time, Sarah couldn't resist the temptation and got involved with you. Next time, if I had stayed, it would just be someone else. For me, a woman without a moral compass is someone I want as far away from my life as possible." I paused, looking him up and down dismissively. Only someone as naive as you would look at her and think he's found some kind of priceless treasure. Leo's face flushed crimson red as I laid into him. "Mark, I know you look down on me because I come from the countryside," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "But I've been working really hard to change my circumstances, to better myself, and I won't ever forget the help you gave me in the past. But I genuinely like Sarah. You might see her as trouble now, but to me she's invaluable. Please, stop talking about her like that." His words were such a jumble of nonsense and misplaced sentimentality that it was almost funny. I nearly laughed again. "You like her? Fine, go ahead. I'm certainly not stopping you," I stated flatly. "In fact, I'm actively making way for the two of you. What more could you possibly want from me? Should I set off fireworks to celebrate your union?" I was dressed in my usual business suit, projecting an air of confidence and authority as I spoke. In contrast, Leo looked flustered, tears welling up in his eyes, making it seem like I was bullying him. I was just about to tell him firmly not to waste any more of my valuable time when Sarah appeared seemingly out of nowhere. She immediately stepped in front of Leo, positioning herself protectively between us. Her face was set in a steely expression, and her eyes held a distinct hint of discontent as she looked at me. However, she didn't say anything to me initially. Instead, she turned to Leo, her voice softening considerably. "Leo, are you okay? Did anyone bully you?" she whispered gently, examining him for any sign of distress. Leo shook his head quickly. "No, I'm fine, Sarah, really. I just wanted to talk to Mark for a minute. You shouldn't worry. Mark wouldn't actually harm me." Sarah didn't look convinced. She looked back up at me, her expression hardening again. "Mark, this issue is between you and me. Don't drag Leo into it. If you need to say something, say it to me directly." Seeing them standing there, defending each other so fiercely, actually made me smirk inwardly, a wry, bitter feeling twisting inside me. It reminded me vividly of an incident back in college. We had skipped classes together once to go hang out somewhere off campus. At that time, Sarah was just starting to get involved in her family's business and was feeling overwhelmed and stressed. She desperately wanted a break, so I suggested we play hooky for the afternoon to help her relax. Unfortunately, our parents found out when we returned. They kept pressing us, asking whose idea it was to skip class. Before I could step up and take responsibility, Sarah quickly pointed at me and said it was Mark's idea. Her family wasn't happy about it, but because of the close relationship between our families, they didn't blame me too harshly. I willingly took the fall, figuring it was partly my fault anyway for suggesting it, and I actually admired what I then perceived as her cleverness in deflecting blame. But looking back now, through the lens of recent events, I realized she probably wasn't being clever or selfless at all. She likely threw me under the bus simply because, even back then, she didn't particularly care about protecting me. I let out another cold smirk. "Actually, I have nothing more to say to either of you," I stated dismissively. "If he's so desperate to play the fool, I'm certainly not going to waste my time trying to stop him." Without giving either of them a chance to react, I turned and walked away, heading straight for the elevators. As the doors slid open and I stepped inside, I instinctively glanced back towards where they had been standing. They were already gone. Back in my office, my assistant brought me a project proposal that required my approval. It was for a large-scale amusement park development. Originally, I had planned to partner with Sarah's family company on this venture. However, given the circumstances, I immediately reconsidered. Looking back, I realized that whenever our companies collaborated, the profit margins for my company were always minimal, with the lion's share consistently going to hers. This was partly because she needed significant successes under her belt to solidify her position, especially with her aunt rumored to be returning from overseas soon, potentially challenging her standing within the company and with the board. But now that we had broken up, there was absolutely no reason for me to continue prioritizing her professional needs over my own company's interests. "Change the partner for this project," I instructed my assistant. "Put out feelers. Let relevant companies know that we are open to proposals for this development." My assistant looked momentarily stunned. "Mr. Mark, forgive me, but weren't you planning to work with Miss Sarah's company on this?" "Excluding any projects that are already underway and legally binding," I clarified. "Do not consider her company for any future collaborations. We need to diversify our partnerships and explore more advantageous avenues, not remain tied to one specific path." My assistant hesitated for a second before speaking again. "But, sir, I thought you and Miss Sarah were getting married soon?" I managed a small, humorless smile and shook my head. "We broke up." Those 3 words conveyed everything necessary in the cutthroat world of business. Genuine friendships between competitors were rare, and alliances shifted constantly. My assistant understood immediately. "Understood, sir. I'll handle it right away." As she was about to leave, she paused. "Oh, also I received another message from Leo earlier today." "Block his number," I said without hesitation. "He has absolutely no connection to this company or to me anymore." "Understood," she repeated, and left my office. With those matters settled, I turned my full attention back to work. I knew Leo possessed a certain amount of pride. He likely wouldn't directly ask Sarah for money, at least not initially. However, having grown accustomed to spending freely without any thought for budgeting or saving, and with my financial support abruptly cut off, he was undoubtedly left in a difficult position. So I wasn't particularly surprised when, a few days later, my assistant mentioned seeing something unusual online. Mark, I saw a designer bag listed on a resale website today that looked identical to the one you sometimes carry, she remarked casually. Honestly, if I didn't know you were wealthy, I might have thought you were secretly selling off your possessions, she joked. Who knows? I replied dryly. Sarah always did believe in equal favoritism, it seems. It turned out Leo was systematically selling off the duplicate gifts Sarah had given him. Everything from expensive appliances she might have bought for him down to small items like cufflinks. People within our social and business circles started noticing his online resale account too. Since the items were identical to things I owned, some people began teasing me, jokingly asking why I was suddenly selling things off as if I were desperate for cash. To counteract the rumors and turn the situation to my advantage, I decided to play along, but with a twist. I gathered all the expensive gifts Sarah had ever given me over the years, calculated their approximate cash value, and made a substantial donation to several charitable organizations benefiting underprivileged regions, making sure the donation was publicly registered under my name. I then posted a short video about the donation on my professional social media profiles. Of course, this immediately prompted a new wave of questions and speculation online. Wait, what's going on here? People commented. If that resale blogger isn't Mark, then who is it? And why do they have all the exact same things Mark owns? Yeah, some of those items are limited edition, extremely hard to get. Like those diamond cufflinks, I wanted a pair myself, but they were practically unobtainable. Now someone's just selling them online? Isn't that kind of embarrassing? Maybe the blogger stole the items? Some speculated. I didn't respond to any of the comments directly. Amusingly, many people who had previously teased me now started sharing my donation video, praising my supposed kind heart and generosity. While I knew their praise was mostly superficial flattery common in our circles, I admit it still felt somewhat satisfying. News travels incredibly fast within our interconnected social and business spheres, so it wasn't long before Sarah found out about both Leo selling the gifts and my subsequent donation. Predictably, she immediately went to confront Leo. According to mutual acquaintances who later relayed the story, she demanded to know why he was selling the things she had given him. Leo apparently broke down in tears, trying to explain his situation. "Mark hates me so much now," he reportedly cried. "He completely cut off my financial support. I have no money left, and I still have my family back home to support. I can't just stand by and watch them starve." Sarah, unwilling to let the person she supposedly loved suffer financially, or perhaps just unwilling to face further embarrassment, gave Leo a significant amount of money on the spot, demanding he delete all the resale posts immediately. By the time I checked his online accounts again later, they were indeed gone. The news of Sarah's and my broken engagement also spread like wildfire. People were genuinely surprised, as we had always appeared to be a very close and stable couple heading towards an inevitable marriage. Many acquaintances asked me directly what had gone wrong. I simply brushed off their questions with vague answers like, "We just fell out of love," or "We realized we wanted different things." No one, neither man nor woman, enjoys admitting publicly that they were cheated on. It's frankly quite embarrassing. Leo, however, seemed to have a completely different perspective. As soon as our breakup became common knowledge, he apparently started flaunting his relationship with Sarah openly, almost aggressively, everywhere they went together. It was as if he desperately wanted the entire world to know they were now officially a couple. Friends occasionally mentioned seeing them out together, describing Leo's ostentatious behavior. I just laughed it off whenever the subject came up. Then, an unexpected issue arose concerning the money I had donated earlier. My assistant informed me that during a routine follow-up verification process, the charity organization discovered that the village I had specifically designated funds for the one I believed to be Leo's impoverished hometown, was not quite as described. When officials visited the location to assess the needs, they found the house supposedly belonging to Leo's family was deserted and completely run down. After making inquiries with neighbors and local authorities, they learned the tragic truth. Leo's entire family had actually passed away several years prior, well before he even finished high school. This meant the compelling story he had told me about needing to support his paralyzed parents and mentally challenged brother was a complete fabrication. All the money I thought was going towards helping a struggling family had, in reality, ended up going directly into Leo's personal pocket. My assistant relayed this information with a shake of her head, laughing at the sheer absurdity of the situation. "I've never encountered someone so adept at scamming people," she remarked. I remembered the previous New Year when I had insisted on calling his family to send holiday greetings. Someone had answered the phone, playing the part convincingly. Thinking back now, it was chillingly clear that it must have been someone Leo hired specifically to deceive me. Realizing the depth and length of his deception sent a cold shiver down my spine. I couldn't believe I had been so blind, so easily fooled for so long. Just as I was processing this disturbing new information, I heard through the grapevine that Sarah had attempted to bring Leo to a formal family gathering at her parents' home. Apparently, they were both unceremoniously thrown out, gifts and all. Upon hearing this, I couldn't decide whether to laugh or simply mutter, "Serves you right." I tried to refocus on my work, deliberately avoiding any further news or gossip about Sarah and Leo. However, I overlooked one crucial factor. Truly shameless people seem to have no boundaries. Sarah came to see me again, finding me at a business luncheon. But this time it wasn't for reconciliation. She wanted my help. "Mark," she began, lowering her voice. "Grandpa has always had a soft spot for you. Could you possibly talk to him? Maybe say a few nice words about Leo? Just help smooth things over? I would owe you big time." I stared at her, incredulous. "Are you actually serious, Sarah? Have you lost your mind? You want me to help your boyfriend get back into your family's good graces?" I replied, unable to keep the disbelief out of my voice. She frowned, clearly annoyed by my reaction. "There's no need to be so harsh about it, Mark. If you can't handle hearing the harsh truth, then perhaps you should leave," I shot back coldly. Her dark eyes met mine, filled with a weary frustration. "Mark," she sighed, "do you know what the biggest difference is between you and Leo? He's not as cold-hearted and preoccupied as you are. After you graduated and dove headfirst into running your family's business, you completely forgot about me. Remember when I was sick that time? It was Leo who stayed by my side, taking care of me, not you." As she spoke about Leo, a faint, reminiscent smile touched her lips. He was still relatively new here, didn't know the area well at all, but the moment he heard I was sick, he rushed over. He brought me medicine, stayed with me, even made me porridge. It was in that moment, she concluded softly, that I truly realized someone genuinely cared about me. Her version of events almost made me laugh out loud. I remembered that specific day very clearly. Because I was the one who had brought her medicine. I was the one who had stayed with her and made her porridge while she slept. I only left her apartment because I received an urgent call about a critical issue at work that required my immediate attention. I had left quietly before she woke up, assuming she would understand. Clearly, my carelessness in not staying until she woke, or perhaps not explicitly telling her I had been there, had allowed someone else to step in and take credit for my actions. But that incident happened quite some time ago. There seemed little point in bringing it up now and arguing over the past. "Really?" I said, keeping my face carefully neutral. "He loves you that much? Well then make sure you don't let him down." Mark, he really is a great guy, Sarah insisted earnestly. Please, just for the sake of all the years we've known each other, can you please help him out this one time? I couldn't help but roll my eyes internally. Sarah, come back and talk to me when you've regained some common sense, all right? I didn't want to listen to any more of her delusional justifications. I simply walked past her without another word and left the luncheon early. Sometime later, at a large industry celebration gala, I noticed something significant. During the presentation of a major collaborative project award, Sarah's uncle, not Sarah, accepted the award on behalf of her family's company, acknowledging the partnership with mine. That's when I found out through industry chatter what had happened. Sarah had apparently told her family she intended to marry Leo, regardless of their disapproval. In response, her family, particularly her grandfather, had cut her off financially completely, using her substantial inheritance as leverage to pressure her into reconsidering. Faced with a stark choice between her family fortune and what she perceived to be true love, Sarah had chosen Leo. When I heard about this final decision, I barely managed to keep myself from suggesting, perhaps too loudly, that her family should seriously consider getting her mental state evaluated. In the end, our families did merge interests, solidifying ties through a formal union, just not the one everyone had originally anticipated. I ended up getting engaged to Sarah's capable and pragmatic aunt, strengthening the business alliance between our families in a much more stable and sensible way. On the very day of our official engagement party, the final piece of the drama played out. Leo vanished, taking with him every last bit of money Sarah possessed. As a final, perhaps cruel, parting gift to Sarah, I made sure she received the information I had uncovered about Leo, the complete truth about his fabricated family history, his long-term deception, and his nature as a heartless scammer who had preyed on both her affections and my generosity. Upon learning the devastating truth, Sarah apparently rushed out frantically, trying to find Leo and confront him, distraught and driving recklessly. She got into a severe car accident on the way. She survived, but lost the use of both her legs. And as for me, I closed that chaotic chapter of my life and stepped forward into a new beginning, ready to focus on my future, both personally and professionally.